Anin, bonjour. Chief Roly Monague. Been your elected chief for the past 2 years. And why am I running? Various reasons. It's been a very busy 2 years. One that has had many challenges, but we persevered. We as a council, because you cannot do it alone. You cannot be an individual. You need to work with each and every one. So we move into something such as governance. What is governance? What do we need to move on into governance? Is we need to structure ourselves, basically. We need to separate the politics from the administration, which is something I've been working on for the past 2 years. Trying to give more control to managers. They make the decisions. Prime example of that is housing. A lot of housing issues come to our table that don't belong there. They could be resolved right at the level of the manager and in their department. So things like that need to be worked on, more focus toward that, and giving more trust and responsibility to the managers. A lot of things that I think are key for our community. The biggest thing will be transportation. Without key transportation in our community, we cannot move forward. 2 years ago, I lobbied to the effect to seek candidacy as chief, because I knew transportation was the big issue. No one was working on our new ferry transportation for the past few years, so I said it was my job to get that ferry project back on the table. This was accomplished a few short months ago. I met with the Regional Director General right here in Moseley First Nation, a few members of council. We were able to persuade her to bring this back to the table. How we did it was very creative, and how we move forward, again, we need to be creative. And the establishment of a capital projects team will steer us toward getting that feasible transportation for our community. We cannot continue to operate the ferry that we're operating on now. We need to focus on education, especially if we're going to foster a move toward economic viability within the community. We need educated people within our community. We need to support our youth. Even though it's been one of the biggest challenges, and we utilize own source revenue. This year we allocated $382,000 to education from own source revenue. But education is the key. It's the only way we're going to move forward. Economic development this past term, we've worked on high-speed internet, which we've introduced to the community. This summer we'll be introducing high-speed to our cottage population. So economic development needs to be key within the community as well. We need to get our managers working. We need to give them responsibility. They need to be the people working on projects for the community, creating employment for the community, and the chief and the council continue to do their job, which is lobbying for the community, working with governments, and pushing those agendas forward, which we need to be part of. Housing, always a big issue within the community. But before we move on to building more homes, we need to fix what's happening within our own organization, and that's building some capacity. A lot of members I know we're probably one of the poorest people within the country, because the way we live as First Nations people. Although our rents aren't that high in the community, there's some people not looking after their own responsibilities and paying rent. So we need to devise some plans to move forward to get back into construction of homes. Whether we move to CMHC or other ways, I think bringing in banks and supporting people and building their own homes, the type of homes they want, would be the best way to go. Membership, I think as far as membership goes, we need to work on a membership code. There's been a lot of issues in the past few years, and then again we need to lobby the government to work toward that membership code. So we know we have a code to be responsible for who should be in our community. We have a lot of outside members, non-native, coming into our communities and living as if they were First Nations people, and we need to do something about that and take responsibility for who we are in our communities. Justice and lawmaking. Just a week ago I attended Unit of Ontario's General Assembly, and we passed the Chinok-Nagawin, and we're affiliated with the union, and with that we will have lawmaking authorities. And a good example of that is in Curve Lake, where they passed the BCR to get rid of a drug dealer within the community. The BCR was challenged in court and it was sent back. With this Chinok-Nagawin, we now have the authority to build our own laws in our community, develop them, so we can implement something that works for us, so that it's not challengeable in court, and it's something that we need. Culture and language has always been something that's key for us. It ties in with education. We need to be responsible. And I've said this time and time again, that power is in our language. Within our own Chinoonagewan about a year ago, we changed a lot of terminology to native language, to our English language from Ojibwe, and we lost the meaning of what the term Constitution, being the power of who we need to be as Anishinaabe people, was lost because we weren't utilizing our language. But when spoken in our native language, you could just feel the power. And that's where our power comes from, is within our language. We need to promote that, bring our language back, be key to who we are, get back to our culture, get back to who we are as Native people. Health, respect in our community, big issue. What can we do to find balance? Whether it's a healthy lifestyle, whether it's from an environmental aspect, paving our roads so we don't have the dust, finding a new way to control the dust in our community. I've looked at the document and study done a few years back on paving our roads, $6 million project. And I've looked at that and how can we entertain it? How can we do it in phases? Those are things we need to look at. Those are things we need to plan for. As far as moving forward, I think our community needs to see a lot more infrastructure. I've always thought of a nice resort here because we're losing a lot. You know, we entertain and host lots of meetings here with lots of organizations that are utilized by the community. So we need our own resort because, you know, a place for them to stay. Not only, you know, something like that, it'll create employment for our community members. And, you know, we keep the dollar within the community. That's what we need to do as far as finding economic stability within the community. We build one thing and we just keep growing from there. Careful planning, whether it's a 5-year plan, 10-year plan, 20-year plan. I think we need to get educated, do really good planning, using many of the studies done within the community over time, and each and every time we look at those studies, what are we doing about it? What are we doing as far as implementation? I think we need to look at that and come up with a good plan. How do we move forward? And we do it slow, but we do it in a good way because we need to enjoy this beautiful, pristine island and keep it the way it is. Aha, Chimigwech.